Camera's on. And this right here will probably be uploaded to YouTube later on. Probably will not be in a few weeks. Or later.
I was wearing my makeup and we got dressed. What different top. I came from school. Try and dress more.
Still got about 2 minutes, y'all good.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we came from Kansas. How'd it go? Good, good, good. I just have to reorganize the list.
Because it has us.
I think he sorted it by numbers instead of streets and numbers.
That's annoying.
So I'm just gonna write them out, and then tomorrow we'll be fine.
No, I'll just tell him. He can resort it.
Yeah, but then I have to go all the way to your house. I could just, no problem. And I can still write it on his paper. You know what the responses were.
Yeah, our list last night was crazy. I don't know where sort is right now.
I know he was rushing.
Listen.
Yes.
Turn it off.
I don't know why I picked up the box of my report. I had to bring it to check out, and I do that from your house anyway.
You have something with your name or your body?
Oh my God.
Anything?
Yeah, you bring any card, the flyers, anything in here with you?
No, they're all in my car. Sorry.
Everything in the car is there. I said I have to put it back in the car.
I got everything in the bag.
I gotta come in here.
You're listening to Harvest Radio, WKNB. It's time now for the Town Talker with Reverend Zechariah A. Jackson. Reverend Jackson is founding pastor of the Church of What's Happening Now, located in Plainfield, New Jersey. And now, the Town Talker, Reverend Zechariah Jackson.
Oh, it's good coming to you. This is American Reverend Zechariah A. Jackson from the Church of What's Happening Now, Town Talker Talk Show. You know, last week I guess we kind of made a slip, and I invited the candidates that's running for the school board, and somehow we didn't connect with these candidates here. And can you announce your party?
Sure, our party is the Change Our Schools, Change Our City Party.
Okay, the Change Our School, Change Our City Party. And again, the Reverend is sorry that we didn't reach out, and if there's any blogs out that they didn't care to come, I would have to refute that. They just didn't know anything about it. But we have them here today, and next week they all be up here. So we're going to make room and have many fans, I guess, to keep things going. But again, it's good to have them here. They're going to talk. We're going to go to them in a minute. But I just want to spend just a few seconds talking about a few things, you know, local things that happened and everything with the health care bill and everything passed and stuff. It's a shame how that transpired and everything. But that it went through, but the heckling that went on, you know, I mean, it went so deep in terms of the way they was calling it, using the N-word and spitting on the congressmen as they were going through, you know. And I thought that the Republican Party was out of line, and that if they wasn't all Republican, it was instigated by the Republican Party. And reach out to Steele, and he's some kind of head of the party or whatever, and he has not made a public apology at all, you know. And I just looking at John Lewis and as he was walking and remembering the days of Dr. King, and you know, and I mean, but and just watching him as he was marching in and you know, head down, but not, of course, in the surrender mode, but just walking, and he's heard it before. But you know, it would touch me a little bit different if I'm walking into Congress. You know, see right there. See, if I can't be honest there, you understand me? You know, all liberty is gone. You understand me? You know, don't. I mean, you know, we all have names for each other that we should not be using. You're in private, okay? But the idea now, when I'm marching in Congress and marching in the House and you spitting on me and calling me names because I passed a bill in favor of what I think is right, then I don't know that even the Reverend could have stood through that denigration without some kind of form of reaction. And I commend those that was able to compose themselves, because I tell you, I felt the blood of old Georgia. You understand me? The actual blood of that right there. You know, to be spit upon. You understand me? And I imagine if the Capitol Police wasn't there, they might have even been beaten, or someone tried to beat them. You understand me? And I'm not instigating anything, but I must say this right here. You know, this shouldn't be beamed all around the world. You understand? This don't look good. Not in 2010. And then I'm gonna say this right here because I'm a long-time Democrat. You know, listen. You know, Republican Party. You got to grow up. You understand me? You out here instigating things. You know what I mean? I mean, what are you trying to instigate a riot? You understand me? This has nothing to do with Harvest Radio. This has a lot to do with church, what's happening now, and I'm taking full responsibility for what I say. You know, the idea, I mean, for you to be denigrating people and spitting and marching on people this way behind a bill. If you don't like the bill, you know the process. You understand me? You know, you often hear people say, you know, from my country, we hang people or we torture people. And I often say, well, we don't do that here. We don't do that here, because the idea that we have found that sometimes you may do it may be the wrong person. Huh? How many times the DNA had figured out years later that it wasn't Jim Brown Jones? You understand what I mean? You know, hung him in his whole family, you understand? So, I mean, we have to change the way that we do business here. And I mean, you know, this right here was just really, really touched me to see that. And as I see it over and over, and I say, you know, I mean, you got to be a little bit better than that right there, Republican Party. I mean, you cannot be that lost in mind that you know, that you are willing to stoop so very low to be calling people names and spitting upon people and things, and then portraying Barack Obama as Adolf Hitler. You understand me? And I just seen a picture of the president here, and under him they had who did they have? Lenin. They had Lenin under him. You understand me? You know, come on now. So what you're saying, you're instigating, and someone has to put their hand on this thing because it's going to get out of control. See, somebody going to take some kind of arms or some kind of a movement towards situations, thinking that they're doing the right thing because the big people at the top is instigating. We've seen that years ago with Strom Thurmond. All that time, he's talking all that stuff and this, that, and all that racist stuff he talked. He recanted years later, but we never knew he had a black daughter all the time. You understand? All that he talked, you understand me? You know, I mean, the bottom line is this right here is that, you know, you got to change this way here. And I just really don't like that right there. And I think that, you know, that we can do a bit better job. And I just pray and hope that you will, you know. And again, also, the Reverend sent a message out to Rush Limbaugh. You know, Rush Limbaugh with your big mouth, you understand me? You got your mouth in everything and everything and everything and everything. But how much help are you doing? We in a national crisis. And let me say this right here. Now, I'm not an economist. But you see, 50 years ago, when the Western world was picking itself up by the bootstraps and building a big society, large society, it was a good thing. It worked good for the Western world, and those that in the Western world benefit. But today, we are in a global world. Because I was in China not too long ago. You understand me? They got just as big buildings as we got. You understand? You know what I mean? So we have to change how we do business. It's no longer going to be just you. We got to have a whole world family, and we have to embody this thing. So let's not come up with these little trickeries that's being thrown across the stage and everything. And I reach out to you, Stills. I would think that you would know a little bit better. You understand me? Look like you would know a little bit better, but don't seem like you are taking in anything yourself. So we're going to get to the show in a minute. I just want to also say this right here to that beautiful actress, Sandra Bullock. You know, I know, she won that award. You know, and of course she gave a heart out to what she thought was Jesse James, her husband, and everything. And she, you know, said that, you know, that if it wasn't for him, she wouldn't have made it. You know, things of that nature, things that you say. But you know, of course, you know, it didn't turn out that way. You know, we heard about the allegations later and things of that nature. But I just say this here to you, Sandra. I've bumped into you many times coming to the airport. I'll say this right here. You know, you put on a show on that movie. You know what I mean? I mean, I love the way you act. I mean, that movie, you became that person, you know. And I just hope that you could collect yourself and pull yourself together and go to Europe and take that bow that you need. You need to get into those different states over there, different countries over there and everything. They refer to them as states now, you know, Berlin and London, and take the bow and see the opening, because I tell you, you've done a wonderful job. And I know that there's trying times. There's always something. There's always something, but somewhere I read you got to keep on and full steam ahead. So may God bless her. All right, now we have the, name your party again?
It's Change Our Schools, Change Our City.
Okay, and introduce yourself.
Well, I'm Danny Fletcher.
Danny Fletcher.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you was Danielle. It's Danny.
Danielle, if you're mad at me.
Okay.
But Danny's what people
Danny.
call me.
Okay,
yeah.
And?
And I'm Mahogany Hendricks.
Okay. I know your father. Go ahead.
And I'm Clayton L. Tucker Sr.
All right.
And I'm Jackie Collins.
And again, we want to say we're sorry for missing you last week, and just for those that probably sent it all through the internet thing that you wasn't there and things of that nature, they just didn't know nothing about it. So what do you want to tell me about your party, and what are you guys planning to do if you're elected to office the 20th of April?
Sure. Well, first, thanks for having us here.
Sure.
We do appreciate it. We really want to change the tone of the school board. You know, you were talking earlier about what's going on down in Washington.
Yes.
And politics doesn't have to have that tone, and part of it is respect for the process.
Okay.
You know, the Republicans are out there, for example, saying that the process in Washington is invalid.
Sure.
And that really stirs people up. It
Yes.
makes people have no faith in the system.
That's right.
It makes people not want to take part in the system.
Yes.
That is a lot of what's going on in Plainfield with the schools, is people think that there's chaos, and they see a board that isn't getting along and doesn't have a respectful tone, and that doesn't make people come out to meetings. It doesn't make people show up and have the part in the process that we really feel like they should have a bigger role in.
Well, what can we actually do here in Plainfield? You know, I've been in Plainfield since '88, and I haven't raised any kids here. But I've always heard just from the local people that's here in Plainfield, residents and things of that nature, that the schools have always been in some kind of turmoil. We've went through many chancellors. In fact, I interviewed a chancellor here about 3 years ago, Paula Howard, and we thought she was a go, and then there's been many more before her. And then we have this other chancellor, Dr. Galvin and everything. And of course, I'm not stirring up anything when I say that, you know, shame on you, did a skit on him and everything. So what, I mean, where, I guess the words of most Americans, where do we go from here?
Well, this is Mahogany Hendricks again. I feel that if the board is controlled the way that it should be, if the members are doing their job, then certain things would not have been able to happen. This is the analogy that I use all the time. If I move into your house, you give me no rules, you live with me.
Sure.
And I believe that some of that is the reason why we have some of the issues that we have. I think sometimes you can be somewhere for too long. And forget the purpose of you being there.
All right.
And the board's job is to set policies, to approve budgets.
Sure.
And the superintendent is their employee.
Sure.
So once we can get board members back on the board that remember those key things, then I think we can move our city and our schools forward. And
is there any keys that you have, or any methods that you will use to do it different?
Well, if you look at all of our backgrounds, we have Danielle, who is a school teacher. She's very proficient in curriculum writing.
Sure.
She wrote a best-selling book on the way to get into college. I have a human resource background, which you need to be able to hire, you know, the right people in the right positions. We have Mr. Tucker, who's a community activist, who is able to get the community involved in the process again. We also have Ms. Collins, who is also a community leader, who can also bring in her ideas and bring the community back into the process. And I think with the like minds that's sitting here with you today, I think, you know, if you really come out, you listen to what we have to say at the forums, you read our website and make a conscious decision, I believe that, you know, we are the team that can help move our city forward.
Okay, I'm going to throw this out to any one of you. if you guys get elected, your party get elected, now what do that actually mean in terms of, because most people are not familiar with how the board elections actually work, you understand? Because again, like I said, it was only until last week when they came up here that I understood that you guys were sectioned off into different parties. There was just one woman here that was actually independent from everything and everything. So, but now, what would be the difference in the job in terms of when you get, if you guys get elected, and how would you guys actually change the whole mechanism of what's going on in the board?
Well, the plan is, with us coming in as a team of 4, the whole board consists of 9.
All right.
So that gives us a good portion of votes, and if we all come there with like minds and can convince, even the rest of the board to come together, merge together, so we can do the betterment for the children, I think everything would be much better. And the main thing is to regain the trust of the citizens of Plainfield. Right now, they don't trust anything that's going on, pretty much so in the the Board of Ed, the government, anything in Plainfield. So if we can show where we have come together to work together for the betterment of the city, I think we can regain their trust. We can start bringing the students back into the system, because we're losing a lot of students also, especially at the high school level.
You losing, when you say you're losing a lot to what?
Well, we have the kids who go through the elementary school process.
Sure.
They might go through the middle school, but usually by high school, any parents who is financially able will probably send their kids to private school, or they'll go up to one of the charter schools.
Oh, yes.
So we're losing a lot of them in the actual public school. So we want to the thing is to regain the trust and of the parents. Let them show them that we have a safe learning environment for the children, and that should bring people back. Now that's the biggest issue, I think, is safety.
Okay.
And having respect for one another as board members. Once you have respect for one another and you work as a team, wherever there's separation, there's going to be a problem. You can't have a board and be separated like that. You have to respect one another, respect one another's position and opinion. And once you respect one another, if you learn to work together and remember that you're there for the betterment of the children of Plainfield, regardless of ego issues and things, if we remember and you stay focused to the point that you're there for the betterment of the children, that's what's going to help this community, then you work together and it'll be a change. Because like Mr. Tucker said, Plainfield, the residents, they've lost the trust in everything, not just school, and everything in community.
But right at this moment, we want to deal just with the
and we're all stakeholders.
We cover the whole,
we're all stakeholders.
Yes.
As parents that have children, I raised my children in this school system.
Okay.
I was raised from kindergarten through high school in the Plainfield school system. So I know for a fact that it wasn't always like this.
Okay.
It was good. And if you get people on that board that remember what it was when they went through school and when they put their children through school, then it can come back to that.
What about the shaping and development of the teachers in terms of how do you get them to work different when they've worked maybe one way that might not have been in a great favor of academically for the kids, because so many of them I'm only saying it because so many parents tell me that they're opt to charter schools.
Well, one thing is we have to remember the purpose of the board and what they actually do.
Okay.
And I think that the community as a whole, they don't actually know the role of the school board.
All right.
So when it comes to the teachers and day-to-day activities, the school board's job is to make a strategic goals and goals for the superintendent to follow out.
Okay.
So as far as us going into the schools and training the teachers, that's not what the board does. But we can charge that to the superintendent and say these are things that we want the teachers to go through. These are the training process. These are the developmental class. These are the core things we want the teachers to do, to develop them, and charge him with that task. And then evaluate him on whether or not he's given us back the results that we asked him to do.
Okay.
That is true, and I would say that you can set policy in place that makes teachers feel both the pressure to perform and the support needed to make them better teachers. And when you establish Plainfield as a better working environment, you're going to attract teachers on a regular basis. We have some seriously good veteran teachers working in the system.
Now, when you say attract, you're talking about bringing in new teachers.
I am talking about new teachers. You need them all the time.
Sure.
And in terms of...
How often do a city like Plainfield, a suburban city, how often do this city actually hire new teachers a year? Is it... How does that work?
Well, I don't know exact figures, but I'm going to guess at least every year some new teachers are coming into our district. And at least, yeah, and some are leaving. That's true. I myself worked for Plainfield High School for 3 years.
Okay.
And the support wasn't, I don't want to say it wasn't there, because again, some veteran teachers really did help me out in terms of learning the ropes. But, you know, I called the summer before I started. I wasn't provided with a curriculum.
Sure.
That wasn't available. They didn't know who I'd be teaching. They hadn't organized the classes yet. And in terms of the work environment, you know, I used to say 3 years of teaching there was like 10 years of teaching experience.
Wow. In
terms of the things that I saw and the kids that I helped and the problems that I dealt with, well, I'll tell you, I work over at Westfield High School now. Sure. And a week is just not the same week.
Sure.
And that's not to say that they both don't come with their challenges, because they absolutely do. But the board can put policies in place, can make sure that the superintendent is putting policies in action that don't just put pressure on teachers, but also support those teachers to be the best teachers that they can be. And that's when you get the cycle going. That's when you attract good talent into the district. There are talented teachers coming into the district all the time, but we don't know if they're going to stay in the system.
Sure.
And we want them there. We want them teaching our kids. So,
how much is it with the school system? You know, you hear a lot about the kids also not reading on the levels that they should. All right. Now, school is only, 8 hours a day now? Is it 8 or 6 hours?
Not even that.
Not even that, right? And the different breaks between. Now, how do we convince the students or the parents of the students to develop more of an academic reading curriculum in their home? Because we can't, it's hard it's like a person coming to church to learn the Bible, you know? I mean, you know, sermon time you don't have, you know what I mean? You understand? So how do we change that? What would be the point of really, you know, of actually bringing the kids up and to embracing a more literal society here?
Well, I had a son, and he wasn't reading. I have a son, and he wasn't reading because he was a foster son, and he wasn't reading where he was supposed to.
Okay.
That's when you have to use your creativity. And what I did is, some parents, we work 8 hours a day, and when you get home, you have to do what you have to do at home. But I developed a plan to teach him to read. While I was cooking, he had to come in the kitchen and read to me.
Okay.
And every day, this is what we did, and he had to read and then explain to me what he read about.
Okay.
And before he left Plainfield, he was past where he was supposed to be.
Okay.
So that we had to figure a way, as a board, to get the parents to use their creativity. All of us parents have some creativity.
Without a doubt, yes.
And we have to be able to show our children and teach our children those things. We can't leave it all up to the school.
Can't leave it all up to the teachers.
But we have to find a way to get it to the homes.
Sure.
And we have to find a way to get to the parents. And that's going to take some time. That's not going to be done overnight.
Mr. Tucker, maybe you can take it. How would we get that to the parents?
One other thing, too, we have to convince the parents to support the teachers also.
Sure.
I mean, a lot of times when a teacher do try to contact a parent, you know, it's instant, aggression instead of listening to what's happening with their child so they can work together to make things better for the child. So, I meast that's a strong charge we're putting on the parents to really do their part at home, but the other charge goes to the teacher. But they have to work. They all have to work together to make this work, and that's the most important thing. Like I said, once again, that's bringing the parents back into the loop of things and to where they feel confident on what's going on in the programs.
Okay. And how many programs do we have from, let's say, from 12th grade into entering college? Is there some kind of program that will help them accelerate into college and pass their SATs, I believe it is, that they take or whatever? Do we have that connection with different universities or whatever here in Plainfield?
No. Well,
I mean,
because you worked in school.
Right. I mean, they've been offering SAT prep classes, and there definitely are people working to try and establish good pathways between Plainfield and colleges, and I don't want to act like it's non-existent.
Sure.
Because
well, today what I would like to really do is that we're not playing the blame game, but what we're trying to do is trying to figure out how to make it happen.
That's exactly right.
Because there's you see, we can sit down here and blame each other all day long, but if we don't figure out how to make it happen, what good is it? What good is it?
It's not trying to reinvent the wheel, we're just trying to fine tune it.
There you go.
And another thing that you find in our school system is that we actually teach our students how to take tests. So in elementary schools, we're teaching them how to take the NJS test. In high school, we're teaching them how to take the HSPT test, opposed to teaching them the methods to answer the questions. So it seems, because I have cousins that go to the high school, I have cousins in elementary school, and it doesn't seem as if our curriculum that we have, or lack of, I should say, because we just adopted the state curriculum instead of fine-tuning it. And
why did we adopt the state curriculum?
I don't sit on the board, I have no idea.
But you will learn. I mean, when you get on the board,
when we get on the board, we will definitely find out why. But
is that a strike for the negative with the state in terms of the state curriculum?
It's not a negative. It's just that it's too broad. If you give me a whole pot of soup, how much can I eat? You know what I mean? So it's too broad. We have to narrow it down and build an actual curriculum. And she can talk more about the curriculum side.
To fit our needs here.
Yeah, to fit our needs.
I could, and it doesn't. I don't want to take away from the person whose job that would be, because again, as board members, it's not about day to day.
Right.
But in terms of where our curriculum is level wise, we were talking about test taking, and Mahogany has a good point. The focus is on this passing the HESPA. There's this big push, how can you infuse your classroom with HESPA taking skills, and I appreciate the urgency that's felt in terms of passing that HESPA, because that is how to graduate. There's an alternative way to graduate, which Plainfield relies on very heavily. It's an alternative assessment, but that test is big. And the thing is that, at least my experience has been, if that's your goal, you are not going to have too many people far above it.
Okay.
You're going to have people right around it. And if they fall short, that's a travesty. But if we were aiming much higher
than the HESPA,
if we were aiming for real college-level standards, and we happen to fall short in a couple cases, they're still going to do okay.
So in a lot of schools, in a lot of communities are aiming higher than
That's
HESPA.
right, yes.
And the HESPA is just to get you out of
it's just to get you out of high school.
But not into college.
That's right. College, exactly.
Okay. Wow.
And we're not saying that there aren't children who are our students who are not excelling in the SATs, because we do have students that get 1600s on SATs.
It's not 2400.
But those are but 1600 would definitely get you into college. Yeah. So we do have a majority of children. I mean, we do have a group of children or students who are getting it, but those students are more than likely coming out of households with parents who have gone to college.
Okay.
These are not like first in the household college grad, or they're children who are in households where the parent put a focus because they wanted to and couldn't. So it's not spreading out to the masses, and that's where we want to be. We don't want to be on shame on you. We don't want to be focusing on that. We want to focus on what are we doing for our children now.
But if there is a shame on you, people are going to focus on it.
Exactly. And that's the thing. You always focus on the negative and not the positive.
Yeah, well, people will focus on it if it's a shame on you. If it is, it is.
And our group wants to bring back the positive. We want to start pulling out figuring out this is the problem, this is the resolution.
Sure.
Not point fingers, point fingers, or yell, scream, yell, scream, yell, scream. That's not solving any issues. And we don't want to be adversarial, because, God forbid, only one of us gets on, which I doubt very seriously. And now we have to deal with the other people that are left. Sure. You still want to be able to make a connection to where your points of view will be heard, so that the people who elected you can look at you and say, okay, she's still getting things done because your board members respect you.
Sure.
If I'm yelling and screaming at you every time I see you, that already made for an adversarial connection.